Hi. We'll be streaming this talk live on YouTube as well. So if you have friends who not being able to join the meet link, ask them to look it up on our YouTube channel, my relations cell. Thank you.
I guess we'll start the talk. Janam, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
Palak,
yeah.
wait a minute or two more.
Okay, you want me
Minute
to?
or two.
Okay. Okay, I think we can start now. Janam, you ready? Yeah. Okay. Greetings from the Alumni Relations Cell, BITS-Pilani, Goa campus. Hello and welcome everyone. It's great to see you on time. I'm Palak and I'll be co hosting the talk along with Janam. In spite of being in different time zones, we thank our esteemed speakers for being here with us today. If you have any questions during the course of the talk, we request you to hold on to them till the Q&A session towards the end. The chat feature would be made available and you'll be able to type in your questions for the speakers. With that, let's start today's event.
An MBA is one of the most viable options considered after an engineering degree. It requires passion and sincere dedication to be amongst the greatest minds in the technical and corporate worlds. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ashutosh Joshi, currently pursuing an MBA at IIM Calcutta. Ashutosh graduated from BITS-Pilani, Goa, with a BE in Electrical and Electronics Engineering, along with a minor in Finance. He was also the sports secretary in the Students' Council of BITS Goa. He has had experience working as a business intelligence and analytics consultant at Thorogood Associates. We would love to know more about his journey to IIM Calcutta, one of the most sought after business schools in India.
Hey guys, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are.
So there's a sound of dog barking in the background. So it's my dog. So I apologize in advance. Uh, yeah. So hi everyone. It's great to see the first letters of your name uh, as videos. So been there, done that. Let me just share my screen. Palak, can you let me know if it's visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Again, I'm audible, right?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. I am Ashutosh, and without further ado, let's begin with the talk. I'm sure all of you guys have other things to do as well. So, again, I have just graduated from BITS Goa as well. I was 2020 pass out, so I'm not very much older than you guys. So uh, I thought Anshul and Fatima would be much more knowledgeable than me to tell you about why MBA, why this college, why that college. I'll be just doing an informal talk kind of a thing where I just take you through my own personal experience. So again, it might be right. It might be the right way to go. It might be the wrong way to go. But I'll be just telling you the things that worked for me and the things that I think would work for you as well. So the agenda for today will be, of course, cat pointers. The organizers specifically asked me not to touch much upon cat, but I think I'm sure that all of you guys will have a lot of cat talks, and you have already had a lot of cat talks. But I think I have attended cat talks during my time as well. But I think some 2 3 things need to be always bombarded upon all of you guys, people who are preparing for exams like CAT and all. So I'll be covering that. The second thing is my take on why B schools. What was my criteria of choosing to do an MBA, even when I had a job at my hand, and the whole journey of how I went about choosing certain kind of schools and why I am and all of those things. And the third thing that I'll cover will be the life at IMC. Like I've just completed my 1 year. I'll be interning at PNG, and I'm actually leaving. I have a bus at 10:45. So yeah, so I'll be covering the first year of my life. How has it been? And maybe you could take some pointers from that as well. So the first thing is, of course, you have to do if you want to get into an IIM, the first thing that you have to do is bell the cat, as they say, right? So you have to give cat. I gave cat 2020, and I have just 3 things to tell you guys. Like I'm sure that all of you will go through a lot of preparation sessions, and a lot of people will tell you about specifics like how to prepare for VRC, DILR. All of that happens in CAT talks. But the things that I want to tell you is that the first thing is you have already completed the whole syllabus. Don't think that you have to start from scratch. Even if you are starting from scratch, you have already completed the entire syllabus. There is nothing new that you will have to prepare for CAT. So the only thing that you need to do is practice, practice, and practice questions, identify your weaknesses, and convert them into your strengths. That's why the 3-4 months of preparation that is needed. So don't start anything from scratch. You have already completed the whole syllabus. Second thing is, a lot of people have been asking me last year as well and this year as well that should I take a drop year? Should I just drop everything and take 1 year to just prepare for CAT, give it my best, and get a very good percentile and get into my dream college, dream IIM? Uh, so I'm just saying CAT, it applies for all the Indian MBA exams. So I'll just be saying it in simple words so you guys will understand. So do not take a drop year, right? Do not that's my personal take again. Do not leave your job entirely and just prepare for CAT, just prepare for MBA exams, right? If you have a job at hand, that's great. Keep doing it and simultaneously prepare while working. Because honestly, I tell you, doesn't take much. Doesn't take much to prepare for CAT. As I said, you have already completed the whole syllabus. So it's just practice, practice, and practice. So you can do that over the weekends. You can take like 1 or 2 hours every day even after your work, and that's pretty easy to do. So don't go for a drop year, just keep preparing while working. Third thing, and the most important thing, and the most important thing to master, is to learn to let aside your ego. This was my biggest problem. And in terms of ego, by ego I mean that when you're solving questions, right, we be it in quant, be it in DILR, be it in BARC, you if you sit for like 4 hours, 3.5 hours straight, you are going to get the entire paper. You are going to solve the entire paper. There is not one question in that CAT paper which you will not be able to solve. But you don't have 3.5 hours. You don't have 4 hours. You just have 2 hours. Like at least I had 2 hours. Maybe you'll have 3 hours. So you have to select the questions which require less calculation, which require less amount of thinking, so that you will be able to maximize the number of questions that you solve. And for this, you have to let aside your ego. Suppose you stumble upon one question, you know that you can solve that question. It just takes 3-4 minutes, but you don't have 3-4 minutes to waste for one question. Just keep it aside, go for the next, solve 1 or 2 questions more in those 3-4 minutes, and then you will have one more question solved than before. After that, if you have time left, then come back to that question and do it again. And all of these strategies you should do during your mocks. So yeah, that's my gyan on CAT. Moving forward, why B schools? So again, I'm saying this was my personal experience, and these were the 3 criteria that I chose my B schools upon. And I also think that these criteria will be helpful for you guys as well. First thing is diversity, and this is actually these 3 are the criteria. If you see closely, they they like why B schools and engineering colleges differ in these 3 criteria, right? So in terms of diversity, in a B school, I'm sorry for the presentation being a little a little bit messed up, because I just converted a PDF into PPT, so that might have happened. But yeah, so in terms of diversity, you will get a diverse set of people with very different professions, background, and interests when you go to an MBA college, right? Right. I'll tell you my group. Okay. In my group, there is an economics major, there is a lawyer, there's a dentist, there's a CA, and there are 3 engineers. Obviously, engineers will be more in number, but that's the kind of group I have. So when we are sitting in my room having a couple of beers, discussing things, right? We like just imagine the volume of knowledge sharing that is happening between these people with different backgrounds, different professions, different interests, and that is just phenomenal, right? You come across people who have like extremely different opinions than you about some concepts, right? And they will literally change your perspective of looking at things. And I think that has been, since last year, that has been the greatest improvement in my life, or in my personality, is that I have been getting so many perspectives on things that uh, it's been real good fun. So this amalgamation is something that you don't want to miss, and that's why go for a B school, right? If you want to be manager, then you don't. One could make an argument that you don't need to go to a B school, right? You could just work in your firm for 4 5 years. You get your promotions, and eventually everyone can reach a managerial position. But then why B schools? Then these are the criteria that I think uh, answer the question of why B schools, right? Second is excellence. Again, top IIMs, other colleges like FMS, XLRI, top-notch courses offered by the faculty, top-notch faculty, right? You get to learn so much, and the courses in IIMs or B schools, they touch upon every aspect of business, right? You in engineering, you might have just studied, technical subjects or subjects specific to your branch, but when you enter a B school, you will have two courses from finance, two courses from marketing, one course from economics, one course from on Indian history, one course on communication. So there are a lot of things that you can do. There are a lot of interesting courses to be to be done there, and the faculty is of course top notch, and the learning approach in B schools is case based. So it's not like in engineering colleges, right? Like the professor comes, he has some 2 3 things in mind that he wants to cover, and then he or she will just cover those things, and then the class would be over. But here, that it won't be like that. Here, every class is case based, right? One day before, the professor will give you a case to do. It'll be anything. A case is basically a real life problem that is faced by a company or an organization, and you just have to discuss upon the insights that you get from that 10 to 15 page document. So a case is essentially a 10 to 15 pager document which you have to read before the class and come, and you discuss it with your professor, and in the end the professor gives you insights, or you have to get insights from that case, and that's how you learn. That's how you go forward in a course at an MBA institute or college. So again, as I said, you get to try your hand at every avenue of business study there is. Like when I did not have much of an idea about the courses that I would get to learn in IMC, but then when I went there, I was like, damn, you have history, you have economics, you have communication, you have finance, you have marketing, and you have maths as well, which obviously we engineers look forward to. So the third thing is opportunities. Obviously, a good B school will provide you with ample opportunities and to show your mettle, and also as you have seen, there have been record-breaking placements, because at the end we will also look for placements, right? It's learning plus it's at the end of 2 years, where am I getting placed? Is it a better job than I have already, right? So that is going to happen. You'll get ample opportunities to show your mettle, and of course those coveted placements. And one of the criteria that I had was that I was just in for that 2 years of extra campus life, man. Like that was a major plus for me. And again, that campus life crammed in with one of the most intelligent minds in the country. Not even faculty, also the students, also the people that I will be working with, people that I will be going to classes with. And that experience was something that I really, really wanted. And hence, it was my decision to go for a B school like IMC, right? Yeah. So regarding the last 1 year that I have had at IMC, I'll be talking about talking in three different perspectives. One is academic related. So I'm sure all of you would have heard that MBA is hectic, MBA coursework is hectic, and it's true, right? It's not true in the sense that the courses are tough. I would not say like I did not experience that per se, that the courses were tough, but it's just that there are so many evaluation components that you always have to be on your toes, right? Like you have one course. In that one course, you have 4 quizzes, 4 assignments, one project, viva, and then you have midterm and end term, right? So there are so many evaluation components in one course itself that you always find yourself studying for one or other quiz, right? Some or other quiz, some or other assignments you find yourself doing. But then as you get used to it, right? If stuff is thrown at you, you have to make do with it, right? You have to get used to it. And after a while, after you get used to it, it doesn't sound that hectic anymore, to be honest, right? And other things that I really found interesting at IMC were the SEMS program. The SEMS program is basically a student exchange program where you get to go to other schools. So SEMS is basically a group of some 30 to 35 B schools across the world where they exchange their best practices, they exchange, knowledge sharing happens, and then they give you a degree called Masters in International Management, right? So if you get selected, again, the SEMS program is for selected students only. Even in IMC, only selected students get to go for this SEMS program. And you, along with your MBA degree at the end of 2 years, you will also get a Masters in International Management, right? So, and there is a lot to learn in this program, right? Some of my seniors have been have been enrolled in this program, and I have seen them talking about it like it was the best learning experience for them. And the second is student exchange program. So it's similar to SEMS, but it just without a degree, right? You don't get an extra degree. So student exchange again happens for one term where you get to go to all the global schools, like all the global partner schools of IMC from Europe. There are schools from South America. There are schools from North America, then Japan. And it's a great learning experience as well, right? So that was, again, so I'll be going to KU Leuven University, Belgium, for my student exchange this year from October to December. So really looking forward to it. Again, in terms of extracurriculars, right? MBA is a typical work hard, play hard system all the way, right? From 10 to 5, you are going for classes, you are studying hard, you are submitting assignments. As soon as the clock ticks 5, right? 5:30, you have practice. 5:30, you have badminton practice. 5:30, you have frisbee practice or cricket practice, football practice, because sports is taken very seriously. I guess in all IIMs, but at least because I am from IMC, we take sports very seriously. Like our sports culture is top notch and we really take pride in it. So that's there. Then you have, again, a lot of clubs, like just like you have in BITS-Goa, right? There is sports, there are sports club, there's music club, there is drama, you name it, and then they have it, right? So don't think that it's all the way going to be hectic. The hectic part also includes this, right? It also includes your club activities, your department activities, your play time. All of this makes it hectic, right? Plus your studies. So that's there. Then you have student council, sports council, cultural council, similar to what you have here at BITS-Goa. So in terms of co-curricular, right? So there are a lot of, like, I'm sure a lot of you people are from CS. So just the way you have hackathons, you have competitive coding competitions, right? During B schools, you will have case competitions, like B-plan competitions. Then there are a lot of speaker series. So these case competitions are basically conducted by companies and colleges. So there are some very coveted case competitions, which, they are very regarded. They are regarded very highly by everyone. So a case competition is basically they give you a problem, a business problem, and then you have to work upon it as a group. Then you have to make a 6-7 slide presentation, and you have to present to the people who are judging your solution. And then subsequently you keep going to the next rounds. and if you win, then it's considered a really it's considered an honor, right? So then you'll have B plan competitions, then you have marketing wars, you have article writing competitions, and there will also be a lots of guidance and volunteering available for your specialization, right? Like IIMs don't provide a specialized degree per se. Like you will only get MBA in general management, but then people do have interests in certain specializations, right? Somebody would be interested in finance, somebody might be interested in marketing, somebody might be interested in product management. So there are guidance, and your seniors will always guide you, right? They will always be there for you, but then there are clubs as well for that. There is consulting club, there is marketing club, there is product management club. So all these clubs will always be ready to help you. They will have different talks, they'll have prep sessions for you to prepare for your, let's say, summer placements or final placements. Be that as it may, like, because the end goal is to, because why have you left your job and come to the MBA? Because you want to pursue the things that you are interested in, right? You want to pursue the kind of work that you always envisioned yourself to be doing, right? So whatever specialization that you might want to work in, you have people who will be able to guide you regarding the same. So that has been my life at IIMC till now. I would say the first year at least was like this. A lot to learn. Second year, I have my internship coming in. I'm really looking forward to it. And after that, also have to go to Calcutta for my second year, which again will be really fun, as I'm anticipating. So yeah, guys, that's it from my side. I guess questions will be covered later, right?
Yeah, it'll be covered later. Thank you, Mr. Joshi. It was truly an enriching experience to know about what all you experienced.
Thank you.
So our next speaker is Anshul Agarwal, currently pursuing his MBA at Harvard Business School. Anshul graduated from BITS-Pilani, the Pilani campus, with a BE in manufacturing engineering. Having worked at Shell and done multiple internships, he is a seasoned product manager with experience in building and shipping products in multiple geographies. I'm sure our audience is excited to hear about your journey to Harvard Business School.
Thanks, Palak. And I hope everyone can hear me.
Yeah, you're audible.
Amazing. So without further ado, I'll sort of talk about admissions at HBS and things you might want to watch out for. I'll cover my personal journey as well as we go through the slides. And let me know if you can see my screen. Sorry, lots of permissions to set up. Okay, I'm having issues presenting. Palak, do you mind if I send this on chat or to you?
You could send it on WhatsApp. I can present it for you.
Okay, sounds great. So let me start off with a quick recap. I graduated in 2015 and I joined HBS in 2020. My program's 2020 to 2022. I'd not thought about B school abroad while graduating, and frankly, the decision to join HBS came 3 years after I graduated. So I'll walk you through some of the decision processes that came with the journey. And let me share this with the group. You see Murphy's law in practice here. Okay, I'll share it. I'll share the presentation later. I think that's better. Let's start with the roadmap. What do you want to think about while you're applying for B school? So first, identify why you want to go to B school. I'd strongly suggest starting with reading Beyond the MBA Hype. It's a very hyped up book, but it's actually true. Move to selecting your target schools. Do you want to go in IIM? Do you want to go to Europe? Do you want to go to the US? This differentiation is because the school you go to will influence the geography you work in. And what you do first, which is identifying why you want to go to B school, will help you make this decision. Next step, you research admissions websites, school admissions brochures, and LinkedIn of current admits and alumni. That will give you a really good idea of the kind of people who go there. And the admissions websites and brochures will give you an idea of what people or schools look for while considering your applications. Next, narrow down schools that fit based on the three things I mentioned earlier. Finally, craft your applications, and you have a wide spectrum of things you should craft your applications, from applicant lab to consultants. And I'm doing this on an effort plus cost scale. So a tool like applicant lab would be very high effort and very low cost, while consultants would be medium effort and high cost. And each of these offers a trial, so you can trial some of these alternatives and see what fits. And then reach out to alumni from target schools. At this time, you know what schools you're going for, you know how your profile fits, you've crafted an initial application. I think alumni would be most useful in doing application reviews and mock interviews, and that's really the time you should reach out to people studying at these schools. What are table stakes? And I wish I knew this in my first year, but an 8+ CGPA is highly recommended. Either that, or you have superlative initiatives or rewards accomplished in whatever field you're pursuing. It could be extracurriculars where you've launched a company that's revenue generating, of course. Or if you're doing just academics, make sure you knock it out of the park. GMAT, I would suggest strongly targeting 740 plus. That opens up all schools for you to consider. Keep in mind, experience compounds quarterly, especially if you're targeting B schools abroad. Your life after B school will strongly depend on your life before B school, and that happens in quarterly increments. So make sure you're targeting a career to wherever you want to go. Build your ability to take risks, which means you need to discover your boundaries and your aspirations before you come to B school. Develop leadership abilities early. Take on managerial roles at your jobs. Go outside of your stated job description. An MBA wouldn't help you do that, and that's what schools typically look for: demonstrated leadership ability wherever you've been. And be comfortable with the trade-offs. It's a very expensive proposition to do an MBA, not only in terms of cost, but also lost salary. So you need to be sure it's worth it. Which brings me to the next part, which is navigating around your frustrations. It costs some good money to apply, and you need to be mentally prepared to spend money. In the long run, this expenditure wouldn't matter. I was very concerned about this while applying, because it was like, I don't know how many years it will take and how much money I'd have to spend now. It doesn't seem significant. Start early in the year, and the whole application process typically takes a year. So I'd strongly recommend finishing off your GMAT in December of the previous year, or Jan at the starting of the year, and then you start selecting schools and working on application cycles, which typically start in August and last 3 months. While reaching out to alumni, keep in mind people want to help you, and you have to demonstrate why you're a good investment for their time, which means you go to them with great research, you go to them with great credentials or great connections. And that's been my journey, talking to different people in different schools. I had to come up with intelligent questions to ask and make sure I'm doing my research up front before I went to them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be, I could see a difference in the quality of conversations I had. And finally, how your program is ranked matters less than what you get out of it. And again, unsolicited advice, but I think being outcome focused would help. Finally, and this is where I think the presentation draws to a close. Choosing between schools. Um, Once you have your offers in hand, talk to alumni, attend a class, visit the school, and judge your future classmates and faculty. If you're facing challenges deciding between a job opportunity and an MBA admit, for instance, or between different schools, I think this is super, super helpful. And it has been for me in the past. Um, that brings whatever I had to say to a close. I'll hand it over to Fatima to present next.
Thank you for making our aspirants aware of what license to offer them and also highlighting all the necessities and the requirements for these schools. Our next speaker is Fatima Dilruba, currently pursuing her second MBA from HEC Paris. Fatima completed her BE in Electronics and Instrumentation Engineering from BITS-Pilani, Goa, post which she immediately pursued an MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur. Before HEC Paris, she was the sales and marketing head for a manufacturing firm, establishing its export division. She has also worked in the telecom industry in core sales, strategy, and marketing roles. She has also contributed to government and public sector projects in social welfare, public policy design, and implementation issues. We look forward to drawing upon your experiences and gaining invaluable insights. Over to you.
Thank you, Jinam. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I do not have a presentation for you, but I'm assuming, I hope that's a good thing because I'm assuming the engineering schools these days have a lot of presentations. Is that the case? I graduated 9 years ago, so it's been a long time. Okay, so I'll do have presentations. Okay, great. And I just wanted to start with a question. Why do you guys switch off your video? Is that like what's the logic behind a video call without a video?
So the participants are not technically allowed to switch on their mics or the videos, so that the speakers aren't disturbed.
Okay. So I speak to alphabets like Anshul and Ashutosh then. Okay, great. So I'm so happy to be here, especially because it's been 9 years since I last graduated from engineering school. I did my electronics and instrumentation. So I'm going with the assumption that all the members here, all those who are there on the call today, have decided or are considering a decision as to whether they should go for a business school MBA or not. Where I'll be of help is I'll be able to give you two perspectives. One from the point of view of a fresher like Ashutosh, immediately pursuing an MBA equivalent in India right after graduating from your engineering. And the second is like, let's say you decide that, no, I don't want to go for an MBA immediately. I want to work for a few years, maybe 5 years, and then do a more global MBA at a later point of time. So that's what happened to me. I'll try to take you through two aspects. First, the life journey as to why the first MBA and why a second MBA. At the end of the day, it costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money, like Anshul mentioned, especially if you decide to do it abroad. And then maybe go through a little bit about the application details, especially touching points which you hope, which you might not find obviously on the college websites, some tips here and there. And of course, we'll all be open to questions at the end. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. So let's begin. My life at BITS Goa was amazing. I mean, like 4 years in Goa, that's an opportunity. Very lucky, few lucky people like us are fortunate to get. But I took up electronics and instrumentation as much as I love physics. I didn't really see myself working, in the industry, in a core technical industry after my engineering. I was involved in a lot of activities on campus. You've got UCW, DOSM, your WAVES core committee, and Nirman, like leading Nirman initiatives on campus. There were a lot of initiatives happening on campus, and I found joy more participating in those activities, and not so much doing my core engineering academics. I'm not saying you guys need to do that. I would please definitely advise that, like Anshul mentioned, having a high CGPA is very critical, especially when you try to apply to universities abroad, because that is one of the criteria they consider. If I were to change, I would definitely change that. I have a CGPA of like around 7 point something. An 8 above is a safe space to be in. Now, like I mentioned, while I enjoyed the activities on campus, I couldn't see myself working in a technical role. So going for an MBA immediately after engineering was my option. I didn't really do a lot of research in the sense I chose Excel. I gave all the exams possible. I gave CAT, ZAT, IIFT, applied to SPGen, then there's Goa Institute of Management. Like I gave it all. My priorities was CAT and ZAT, but I gave the others because I wanted that practice of going for a mock exam. Each of these exams was a mock exam in itself. So that is what I kind of attempted. So this is one of my first tips that you could pursue. Even if you are not aiming for those colleges, just give the exams. It gives you the feel of going for a mock exam much more than a mock that you would give in your room. So that's one. Then my logic of choosing XLRI was like I wanted ABC. My order was like ABC, then XLRI, then the Kozhikode and Lucknow and all those other IIMs, and simultaneously SPGen. I got into 4-5 of these colleges, and of the lot, XLRI was the better option. I'm glad I took it because that's also where I found my partner. That's another story. Yeah, so then XLRI happened, and I must say XLRI was an amazing place, a brilliant B school to be a part of. But I joined in as a fresher. So while there are a lot of pros of joining in a B school as a fresher, because you do not really have any apprehensions. What apprehensions will you have when you do not really know what's happening in the business world? Because you're entering a B school without any work experience. So you are fresh in mind, truly like the word fresher, you're fresh in mind, you come up with a lot of these creative ideas, always energetic. You continue that college life that you had in your engineering school. But there were two shortcomings I saw then and there. One was from a learning aspect. I felt that I definitely talked a lot in class. I participated in all the case competitions, in the case discussions in class, etc. But I lacked one filter in thought, which is feasibility. Whenever you come up with a suggestion in class, there is one filter that needs to be put in, which is how feasible is that idea in your life. Once because you're a fresher and you do not really have any business context, that element is a bit is lacking. That's one. And the second aspect is there are some companies. So from an employment point of view, you lose out on a certain share of companies which particularly look for candidates with work experience. So I'm referring to consulting firms here. I'm referring to certain leadership programs. So I remember McKinsey, BCG, Bain, all of them visited campus, but I couldn't apply because they need work experience. So if you are targeting these schools, there might be some students who get in without work experience, but majority they have work experience as a criteria. So maybe that's something that you want to consider. So these are two elements which I felt that, okay, I wish I had waited and worked in the industry for a bit and then gone for an MBA. Post XLRI, I joined Bharti Airtel as a part of the leadership program, worked there for 5 years. Again, an amazing organization to be a part of. Worked across the country. And then I took a break and then I started my own company. It's a manufacturing facility. And then we interestingly, it is core engineering, although my partner took care of the engineering aspect. I took care of the business side of things. So I had that entrepreneur tag in my application. So that happened for 1.5 years. It was right in the middle of COVID. So it was a welcome change. And I decided to apply to B schools. So my partner was also applying to go for his PhD, and I wanted to do an MBA again. So we zeroed down on Europe as a geography, and he applied first, and he zeroed out on France as a geography. And I again went through the pecking process of which are the top B schools in Europe, and I applied for 2 B schools in France, that is INSEAD and HEC. Got through both, but I applied to HEC first, and I liked this program structure a bit better, so I went for that. Now, when I went for this okay, now the entire preparation process of applying for B school outside India, there was one more important factor, which is when my job in India, most companies in India most big organizations in India would limit you to roles within India. So if you want to look for a more global role, either the organization you're a part of should be global. So since Airtel was not a particularly global organization, it has operations in Africa. That was not a geography I wanted to consider moving. What I did was I tried to apply to other jobs, and I found that auxiliary degree or any MBA degree is equivalent to an MIM. I think Ashutosh mentioned that occasionally it's part of the STEMS program or whatever, but it's an MIM. So MIM is different from an MBA. MBA requires at least 6 years of average work experience, whereas an MBA can be done with, MIM can be done with at the 0 to 2 years of work experience. So it will affect your roles when you move outside India. And also, when you look for roles outside India, the MBA degree in India was not particularly appealing to organizations outside India. So which was also one of the factors as to why I felt that, okay, a second MBA would be a good opportunity. And I decided to apply to HEC. Now I applied to HEC, got through. Now this is the entire timeline of what happened. In terms of the application process, like Anshul mentioned, once I identified the institutes I wanted to apply, it is very important to reach out to the alumni to understand the personality of that institute and also understand what kind of values the institute is looking for its potential candidates. It's not like applying to a B school in India wherein your exam and your entrance exam and your interview seals the deal. That's not the case. Different B schools, along with your GMAT score, along with your essays, etc., looks for specific traits which you can identify by speaking in advance to these alumni of your target institutes. That's something I did after shortlisting my institutes in the required geography. Now, the application process, they share a series of questions, mini essays of sorts. HEC had 5 to 6 essays, and through each of these essays, I tried to showcase different aspects of my personality. So what you could do is take a day off, sit in a room, and just reflect through what all you have done from as a kid in school till where you are now. I remember when I sat, the most number of points was which I could really speak about in my essays came from my 4 years at engineering school at BITS2BSchool, because that's the amount of opportunities the institute offers. And right from the initiatives under Nirman or organizing waves, then there are different leadership awards that are offered. I try to apply for them. I got through a couple of them, and all those became building blocks for my application process to the institute. So, and one aspect also that was mentioned was, I think this was one of you guys, Palak or Jira, mentioned, was how important is letter of recommendations. It is very important, and because the letter of recommendations, obviously, as it suggests, it gives the institute a different route through which they can look at the potential applicant. So what I would recommend, what I did was I created a dummy application and entered dummy email addresses in the letter of recommendation cells, because they ask for the letter of recommendation. So I created a dummy Fatima profile and created 2 email IDs and wrote presented them as the recommenders' names to get an idea of as to what are those questions that are asked to the potential recommenders. Now, when you say letter of recommendation, it's not like a letter that you have to send to whomsoever concerned. It's actually 4 or 5 questions, specific questions that the recommender has to give answers to. So give an example of a situation where this specific candidate worked with you. What do you think are the candidate's strengths and weaknesses? Would you recommend this candidate to the institute? If so, why? Would you not recommend this candidate? If so, why? So these are the range of questions that can come. So because I had I was privy to those questions beforehand, I was able to guide my recommenders accordingly and hence come up with strong recommendations. Now, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You're applying to multiple institutes, right, at the end of the day. So your recommenders, it's better to have a list of recommenders, because your recommenders will get tired of answering all those questions. So I had a list of like 4 or 5 recommenders, and then depending upon the institute I applied to, I chose the 2 of them who would be most comfortable answering questions. If your recommenders are really nice and they're willing to give recommendations for all the institutes that you apply to, even that you could do to ensure that you do not piss off your recommenders. So I'm almost done with my MBA, and I'm considering to consulting office. That's where I am in life right now, and that's it. Yeah, off to you, Palak and Gina.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, that was a great talk. So thank you for the insights. So now we'll move on to the Q&A segment of the talk. So I'll read out the questions, and one of you could answer them. So the first question is, I mean, what are uh, uh, what are the different scholarships to look out for, and what are the criteria on which they're awarded?
This is for Indian B schools or outside India?
For everybody. So like,
Okay, so I can give you some inputs about institutes outside India, and maybe Ashutosh can, or Anshu. I think Anshu's not here, right, Palak?
he's on the meet, but
I'm still on
I
call.
can-
Okay. So for institutes outside India, there are two kinds of scholarships. One is offered by the institute itself. And it's very specific to the institute. And then there are others which are outside India, so outside the institute. So for example, if you're applying to French institutes, there are some scholarships that are offered by the French government. This information you can get by reaching out to the embassies. Then there are some scholarships that are offered by charity organizations within India with some additional commitments, like let's say you have to complete your MBA degree and come back to India and work for a year or so. So you can actually just Google research about this. I specifically availed the scholarship that was offered to me by my institute, which didn't hence, which was yeah, that was about it from my end. Either Anshul or Ashutosh could answer.
So there are two kinds of scholarships that I've come across. One, as Fatima mentioned, institute provided scholarships. So if you apply to, I think, Harvard and Stanford, the colleges have enough endowment to cover up to 50% of your total cost of attendance. So you don't need to worry about scholarships. Even so, there is, I think, a scholarship offered by Reliance. It's called Dhirubhai Ambani, which covers the full ride with the condition that you have to move to India and work for an Indian origin company, which people find limiting. And I know a lot of people decided not to take it this year, but it's still a great financial backup because you don't have a loan to pay off at the end of graduation. Other than that, you can negotiate with your specific colleges while you're in your admissions process. If you have more than one offer, that is. And I think INSEAD also has a diversity scholarship that covers, I think, up to 20% of the cost of attendance, but I could be wrong. That's all I could find out.
yeah, sure. Ashutosh, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I think regarding Indian B schools, there are not many scholarships which are given. Some that I am aware of is one is Aditya Birla scholarship, which is given in, I think, ABCL and a few other prestigious B schools. So it basically depends on every B school has a ranking, right? So if you are, let's say, being admitted into IIMC, then they have their own ranking based on your CAT score plus whatever criteria they have, right? Your interview scores, and then there is a final composite score. And Aditya Birla scholarship is something like, in that rank list, some first few people would get that scholarship. So, and there are a couple of more scholarships like that. And like I'm sorry that those are the only scholarships that I am aware of in this case. I don't think there are too many of them.
Yeah, okay, no
Moving on to
issues.
so moving on to the next question, specifically for Anshul sir. How much corporate experience did you have before joining HBS, and how to prepare a profile for selection in HBS? What will be the scholarship criteria for the same?
Good question. So I applied when I had 4 years of experience and I joined at 5. I did not prepare my profile specifically for HPS. I was actually deciding between a decision to go to HPS and taking a promotion to go to Singapore because I really like my job. Um, I think what helped was being entrepreneurial, taking risks, trying to do things that were outside my scope of responsibilities that finally ended up in my admission. Coming to the second question on scholarships, you don't need to do anything. It's specifically for HPS and Stanford. It's a need-based scholarship. So it's completely based on your financial situation. You just have to apply and give them details.
Okay, sure. So the next question is for Anshul and Fatima. So, what should a third or fourth year student be doing in the final years of college to help him or her get ready for a B school abroad?
So what I did was, like I said, I didn't really prepare for a B school abroad at that point because I couldn't really afford it. It was too expensive. So what I had done in my final year was I took my practice school in the second half. The first half I prepared for the CAT and ZAT, those exams, and the second half I prepared for the mock interviews, etc. For those respective colleges that I got shortlisted for. So, but like I said, this is for what happens to applicants within applying to colleges within India. Now, if I were to go back and then look at my third and fourth year and do some things differently, that is first is some of these colleges offer this 2+2 programs like Harvard 2+2. I think MIT also offers it, Stanford also offers it, Yale also offers it. There are some programs like these wherein you apply for it in your final year and then you work for 2 years. So if let's say I apply by the end of 2020, I'm joining the 2022 class. In between, I have to work for 2 years, and then I join the regular MBA cohort as a part of the 2022 class. So I wish I had prepared for that. Now, there's nothing that you can do differently. Maybe look at how you can add CV points or talking points for your resume. It sounds a bit sad or frivolous, but then it does matter in the sense what talking points that you have. So try to identify areas that you're really passionate about. So the first 2 years, I remember in my first and second year, I was exploring different organizations. And then I realized that I'm really passionate about Nirman. So third and fourth year, I was like full on Nirman. And that became a significant chunk of what I spoke of or what I wrote about in my essays or spoke about in my interviews. So that's something that you could identify. And now there are so many options out there. Like you could identify what are the hip topics or the most up-and-coming topics and see if you can build an area of expertise, like an adventure of yours that you can do parallelly. All this like that I'm saying is ways to add to your conventional resume. You don't want to just be an engineer. You don't want to just be working for an organization. You have to bolster your profile with other additional things that interests you and would also potentially interest the organization or the institute that you're applying to. That's my take. To the time that those guys joined, so Palak and Jeeram, just tell me, so it's like a rule, is it, that you guys are not allowed to turn on the camera and stuff?
Most of the talks we don't. Like every talk we don't, because it's just like disturbing to the speakers in general. So we prefer that everybody stays quiet, and the speakers, like the ones who are hosting, can convey whatever everybody wants to convey.
Okay. So that's one thing which is different, I guess, in B-School. I don't know how is it at IMC, Ashutosh.
Yeah. Profs
What,
are
videos
always
off?
going about. No. Profs are always going about why our videos are off, and then the first 10 minutes of class goes in this only. That please turn your videos on. Please turn your videos on. Then they start cold calling.
And like our classes still via Zoom?
Yeah, so they called us back to campus, but they had started it, but then the third wave came. So
Okay.
then it happened offline for us only for a week, and then again we were shifted back to online. So they were kind of telling us to go back to our homes, but then we were like, we're not leaving campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. For us, like our campus was declared like a bubble. So we
Similar.
pretty
Yeah.
much had physical classes. Okay.
Oh, okay. We didn't have physical
After you,
classes,
Palak.
but then it was bubble all the same.
Yeah, we'll just start the streaming as well on YouTube so that you can see. Okay, good. So I'll ask the next question. Jinam, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So the question would state, when should we start preparing for the GMAT? What are some of the sources and the ways that you used while starting off?
Okay, so since GMAT, I'm assuming IMC does not have GMAT right now? Okay. Okay, because when we applied, apparently you could apply to IMs with GMAT as well. I'm not sure if that's there. Anyways, I'll speak about me. So what I understand is GMAT, for an engineer at least, the topics that are covered under GMAT, there are 3-4 different sections, but it's the math, the quant, English, that's verbal reasoning, quant, and BI, if I remember, data aspect. So three sections were there, if I remember right. Yeah. So the time that I gave myself was 90 days of sorts, but I did most of the grinding in the last 1 or 2 months. 40 days or so. That was good enough for me. How I went about it was, first when you get the when you register for a specific date, or on the GMAT platform itself, there's a mock test that you can give, which gives you an understanding of where you stand and which specific areas you find weak. So the first thing I did was I went online and I gave the mock test, and I got a score of like 680 or something. That was not good enough. So then I prepared and I subscribed for mocks. I didn't go for any specific GMAT classes per se, because I felt along with my job, I was working then, along with my job, it made more sense to practice while at home. So I dedicated myself 3-4 hours over the weekends, maybe 1 or 2 hours daily. That's what I did. And I purchased mock exams. So in GMAT, it's like a question bank, and with each question that you attempt, the difficulty of the subsequent questions increases or decreases depending upon whether the question that you've attempted, your answer is right or wrong. Okay, it's like it corrects the scoring automatically. So the first 20 questions or so, it's more to understand where you stand. The middle, 33% of the exam is where the actual score is set, and the last 33% is to understand, is to either to make the last corrections, which is if you continue to give good answers, it works well. That means the score is fine set. But if you make a few mistakes here and there, they're more forgiven. So that's the general structure of GMAT. We can go on and about GMAT. It's too detailed, so I'm trying to limit myself there. So in terms of time, that's what I did. I gave myself 90 days, worked the hardest on the last 45 days, mainly gave mock exams. So you can purchase these mock exams on the platform, and you can give these exams multiple times. So I could see my score progress. And always remember, the score that you get in the comforts of your home is going to be on the more optimistic grid. So if you, let's say, score a 740, it's more likely that in the real exam settings at the center, it would be like, let's say, 10% or 20% lesser. So you'll be around 720. So that's that was much. Yeah. But this is just what I did. I don't think this is the best way or the prescribed way. You should ideally do more research online.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question. So this is for Ashutosh, or I mean Fatima, when you can answer it. So did you sit for placements on campus or off campus in your 4-1 semester while preparing for CAT? If so, was you fluid with the idea of joining the job even after getting placed, consider that it was difficult to prepare for CAT while having a demanding job?
So I think I can take this question. Could you just repeat the second half of it?
Yeah, the second half was, so if you did sit for the placements, were you fluid with the idea of joining the job even after getting placed, considering that it was difficult to prepare for CAT?
Yeah. So as I said, this was my, so I had my PSN 4-1 and my the 4-2 semester on campus, right? And actually I gave CAT just for the sake of it in my 4-1. Like I did not prepare anything. I just wanted to see, I wanted to get the feel of the exam. So I did not prepare much during that time. But then when I took a job, like when I joined, I got the PPO in the same company that I interned in during my PS2. So when I joined my company, during that, I found that it was totally possible to, work and then prepare for CAT simultaneously. So I started my prep for CAT in August. So it was August, September, November. These 3 months I prepared really hard. Like that was the uh, top gear. So what I found was I was working in an analytic consultancy firm. So I had to work around 10 to 11 hours because my project was really intense. So I had to work around 10 to 11 hours every day. So what used to happen was most of the times during weekdays, I did not get much time to prepare for CAT. Max 1.5 hour, where I used to just brush up on concepts and solve some practice problems where I thought I was weak, right? But during weekends is when I used to get into the 4th gear, 5th gear, whatever. I used to give a mock, analyze it, Saturday, Sunday, give a mock, analyze it, right? And analysis, again, I can't stress this enough. If you are giving mocks, just giving mocks doesn't help you at all. Every mock should be analyzed, should be properly analyzed, question by question, which questions you did correct. Next time, you are not going wrong with them. Which questions you did wrong, next time, you're not going wrong with them as well, right? This is how you learn. As I said, like I feel that you already know everything there is to know about CAT. You just have to prepare. You just have to practice and gauge your weaknesses and then work on them. That's why you give mocks. That's why you give all these practice exams, right? So I found that working and preparing simultaneously for CAT was not that hard for me. Again, because of which I said that don't go for a drop year, or like don't don't leave your job and then prepare entirely for CAT. I feel it's not worth it because it's totally possible for you to prepare along with your job. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Fatima, would you like to add?
So in my case, I went for my practice school in the last term, and I sat for placements. I definitely did sit for placement because of two reasons. One, you never know what the future holds. What if, let's say, on the day of your CAT exam you fall ill, or the day of your ZAT exam something happens? So I like to have plan B always. So I did sit for placements, and I had an offer. But I didn't really was in a situation wherein, like Ashutosh, wherein I had to prepare for CAT or ZAT while working. I prepared for GMAT while working. In all honesty, I felt GMAT is slightly easier than CAT. So, I think if CAT is possible while working with, like Ashutosh mentioned, then definitely GMAT is also possible.
Thank you. So now I'll move on to the last question for the Q&A. So are Indian MBAs given as much importance abroad? Is it easy to shift abroad having an Indian MBA? And I think both of you could go. So, Fatima.
Should I go? Okay. Okay. So when you go for a job abroad, how do I make it less offensive? Okay.
This
so
is my question as well, Fatima.
Yeah, yeah. But then Ashutosh is still doing your MBA, so which is why I'm. Anyways, let's see. Okay, so I am ABC and XLRI, and maybe even the other IMs. To a certain extent, they have a strong alumni base. So if you're looking at joining an organization through the alumni base, let's say reaching out to an alumni in your target organization, and they refer you, and then you get through. That's fine. Hence, going through that route, it is possible. The other route of getting an opportunity abroad would be, let's say, targeting specific industries, like let's say tech industries, or like the likes of Amazon, Microsoft, etc., where there are a lot of Indians themselves, and hence the name of the business school is recognized. In that case, also to a certain extent, yes. But I will never say 100% sure, you do an MBA from India, then, you can't get a job abroad. I particularly didn't find that route to be possible because of two reasons. One, XLRI degree is still a PGDM. It's a MBA equivalent. Okay. Is it an MBA for IMs now, Ashutosh?
Yeah, it's MBA now.
It's an MBA for IMs. So, but XLRI, it's still considered to be an MBA equivalent. So that leads to, that maybe when you apply through the website, they filter you out purely because of that. That could be a possibility. Another situation was while I was applying to a job, I was applying to opportunities outside India after having 6 years of work experience, really good work experience in India. So there's a kind of level of jobs that you would be expecting. You're always looking at either matching the same level or growing. But what I found was they were offering 1 or 2 level lower opportunities abroad, which I specifically didn't want to consider because then that means I would have to climb the ladder up again. You already have a long ladder to climb up. So I didn't want to waste time with that. So, if I were to go back and I had to choose between a global MBA and an MBA in India, my decision would be based on 2 things. One, where do I eventually want to work? If I eventually want to work in India itself, there's no point wasting all that money in an MBA abroad. An MBA in a really good B school in India would offer you the same job that maybe an MBA in Harvard or other big MBA schools outside India would offer. But if, let's say, you are looking for a more global career, then you definitely, I would not go for the XLRI MBA, and I would directly work for 4-5 years, and then go for a more global MBA. That's one. The second thing is the kind of discussions and what you want from the MBA. So, and a really good example is, so in HEC, when cases are discussed, I remember in XLRI, when cases were discussed, the perspectives given were, this would work very well in Kerala because, but this won't work in let's say, Kashmir, or the customer insights are very specific to India. the discussions are very specific to India. But what I saw, my fascination and what I really enjoyed was one, when they say diversity that global MBAs offer, it is really diverse, especially the European B schools, because in American B schools, it's close to 50% Americans, and then the remaining 50% students comes from different nationalities. European B schools, interestingly, it's like 10-15% Europeans, and then people from the rest of the world. So we have, for example, 55 nationalities in class, and the discussions are also that diverse. So if, let's say, China is doing something with, let's say, Alibaba today, and that is being discussed a case in class, there would be someone saying that this won't work in Africa because the customer traits of Africa are like this, or this specific policy, public policy, will work in the US. This will not work in, let's say, South America. So discussions are as rich and diverse as this. And also, Indian B schools tend to be very heavy on engineering students. So diversity in terms of professions are also very limited. I hope things have changed. I'm talking about how it was 5 years ago. Ashutosh, maybe you can add some points to that. But in global B schools, what I've seen is you have concert pianists, you have doctors, you have lawyers, you have war veterans, you have people who have, let's say, not completed graduation and are CEOs of big companies. It's really diverse. Tennis players. What else? I mean, it's a very diverse profile of candidates. So you can decide what kind of an MBA you want and where you want to work, and then make that choice. There is no right or wrong answer because each of these B schools come with phenomenal potential. You just need to see where that program fits into your career path. At the end of the day, your MBA is not your destination. It's a step in your career ladder. So you've got to find that MBA which suits where you want to get to. Yeah, that's my take.
Ashutosh, would you like to add in?
No, I meant that I had the same question. So I obviously can't comment on it because I'm not knowledgeable enough yet.
So I'll give you an example. So a friend of mine from XLRI, he started in Amazon. Okay, so now Amazon is a very global organization. So hence it was very easy for him to move from Amazon India to Amazon Netherlands, or work in Amsterdam, or or Poland, or as such. So his mobility options were significant. Same case with people who, let's say, work in Google or Microsoft in India. For them, mobility options are easy because the paths are created within the organization. It's not, at the end of the day, they're not dependent upon your B school. It's dependent upon what you do in your organization. Same case with consulting firms. So I have friends who started directly from XLRI in McKinsey, BCG, Bain, all three of those organizations. And now they are in London or Paris or California. So I mean that mobility is offered to them by the organization and not specifically by their institute. But if you're switching organizations, backing solely on your institute might not be easy. Close to impossible. That's how I would want to look at it.
Thank you, Fatima. Jinan, you could move on.
Yeah. So with this, we come to the end of our BITS2BSchool Talk. Thank you all for sharing your journeys. It surely tips the scales in favor of the aspirants. Here with us, we loved having you guys over. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for attending this talk. We hope that it proved to be insightful and informative. Please fill up the feedback form that has been put up in the chat box. Your suggestions are valuable to us. All the best to all of you. Have a good night.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Bye.
inviting us.
Thank you.
Sure, it was our pleasure. Thank you.